Hi everyone, my name is Leah Kopke and I'm a 3D motion design freelancer. I also have a podcast where each week I cover another 3D modeling tool for Cinema 4D. Hello and welcome. Today we're going to go over the flatten brush inside of Cinema 4D. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are inside of Cinema 4D. The first thing that I'll do is drop in a sphere. And we'll turn on garage shading lines so that we can see our lines. That's under your display options. A couple places where you can find this tool is in your mesh menu. If you go down to sculpting and brushes, you'll see within brushes here all of your sculpting brushes. You can see that these are grayed out right now because we don't have anything editable in order to adjust, but we have our flatten brush within here. You can also find your brushes by searching for them with Shift-C, but what I really like to do is to just switch over into sculpting mode over here. So now we're in sculpting mode. If you're interested in learning more about sculpting layers and the subdivision for sculpting, I'll leave links to those episodes below. But let's go ahead and get started with the flatten brush. So in order to do that, we're going to need to make our brushes so that we can see them. You'll see that our brushes are over here to the left, but they're all grayed out. So we want them to be usable. So we need to make some adjustments to this sphere. One of the things that I like to do is make this a hexahedron so that we're working with quads. I like to have more segments while sculpting, so I'll increase those. And then I'll hit the C hotkey, which will make this editable. It's the same button as what's right over here, the Make Editable button. And now that we've done that, let's do a quick review over what flatten does. So the overall use of this tool is that it flattens the surface. So this is great for modeling, and without me making too many adjustments, it just flattens it relative to the normal direction of the polygons. So that's basically tangent to the surface. I'm going to hit undo a few times. That's Control Z on PC or Command Z on Mac. Now let's talk about our settings here. So the basic settings are the same as for the other brushes. I have a video based on that if you'd like to see that. Most of the settings in here are the same as usual, size, strength, and these as well. There's one that is new and unique to this tool. So if you want to know about these settings, you can check out that video in the description, but this one, fixed plane, it's new. So let's talk about it. With it off, it draws as we had talked about earlier. It just flattens it out. But what if we change it to one of these ones? So you can use different references or different planes in order to flatten the surface. Let's start off with work plane. So as we've covered in the past, there's a lot of tools to adjust the position of your work plane, including this one over here that allows you to move your work plane. So I'm just going to move my work plane up, and then I'm going to rotate it. And whenever I'm done getting my work plane into position, I can turn this off. Now we can use the work plane as a fixed plane reference for our flatten tool. So now I have flatten selected. Let's go ahead and draw on here. You can see that it is flattening the surface to our existing work plane that we've set. So that's pretty cool. This tool gives you a lot of control over where you'd like to flatten this to. You can see that's even bringing up some surfaces in order to make it flat on that plane. So you can use something other than the work plane. You can use mouse down, and this basically uses the position of your mouse to determine the position of the plane. So my mouse is here. I'll click and draw, and you can see that's using that relative position of my mouse in order to flatten this. We have another option in here, custom. You can use your own custom plane. You can set this actually by holding the control button. So I'm going to go over to the other side of this sphere over here. So I'm going to hold down control, that'd be command on Mac. And when I click on the sphere, you can see this big plane shows up. So that's showing us what we're going to be using for this flatten tool. And you can reposition it by holding control and clicking anywhere on the object. Now, once you've done that, you'll see you have additional options for custom. You can adjust your custom plane size in here. So I can take this back and make it a little bit smaller. I can adjust the depth. So if I want this to be a further back in here, I can adjust that there, and then we can go ahead and use our flatten brush as usual. So you can see that it's using that plane in order to flatten this. So it's creating this shape that reminds me a little bit of a crater on the moon. So that's pretty cool that you have that control to choose a custom plane for sculpting. Or you can stick with classic off. The stamp settings are the same as what we've covered in the past, so I won't bore you with those. The stencil settings are also the same as what we've gone over in the past. Let's talk about modifiers. Modifiers are a little bit different for different brushes. If you turn this on, you'll see that we have other brush types listed here. We have smooth, draw, pinch, and inflate. So what enable modifiers lets you do is combine two brushes together and use them at the same time. So you can adjust the strength in here of the brush, and you can turn it on and off by checking this box. So if I want to use a combination of the flatten with the smooth, you can see what that looks like. So it's not only flattening, it's smoothing out the area around it. You can adjust the strength as we talked about over here. You can combine the draw with the flatten. I'm going to turn off the smooth. And it'll just look a little bit different. You can try out these and see what effects you can get. Now we're pinching and flattening. We can try the inflate and the flatten together. So it's just interesting to play around with the buttons and see what you can get. I'm holding shift to smooth this out. We've gone over the smooth tool, just smoothing out this area because that looked a little messy to me. So that is our flatten tool for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And we're getting really close to wrapping up the sculpting tools, so that's really exciting. And I hope to see you next week. We cover another 3D modeling tool each week. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for 3D modeling with me.